Go ahead and turn around for me. Put your hands behind your back.
Are you gonna arrest me, sir?
Yes, I am.
It is the lawful duty of cops to arrest offenders and criminals, but once in a while some corrupt cops disobey the same laws which they enforce and have to be arrested for it. While some think they are above the law, others use their position to cover up their crimes. In today's video, I will be showing you how and why footage of corrupt cops' arrests went viral. Kyle Erikson. Erikson joined the NYPD in the early 2000s, eager to fulfill his ambition of becoming a law enforcement officer. He underwent rigorous training and was eventually assigned to the Staten Island precinct. However, as time went on, whispers of misconduct and questionable behavior began to circulate among his colleagues. It was in the late 2010s that Erikson's conduct first came under scrutiny. In 2018, a Staten Island judge abruptly halted his testimony in a marijuana possession case against Lazarus, a moment that would mark the beginning of a series of shocking events. During the trial, Erikson took the stand and swore under oath that he had found a marijuana cigarette on the backseat floor of the car Kuyate was in. But what the body camera footage revealed was a stark contradiction to his testimony. The video showed no trace of marijuana on the car's rear floor, and Erikson could be heard whispering suspicious words to his partner, Elmer Pastran.
We gotta find it. You know what I mean?
Moments later, his camera mysteriously cut off. When the camera turned back on, Erikson was seen picking up a marijuana cigarette and announcing his alleged finding, despite his partner's previous declarations that he did not see anything. This shocking revelation cast doubt on Erikson's credibility and raised serious questions about his integrity as a police officer. Following the release of the explosive body camera footage and the disclosure of Erikson's disciplinary history, Lazarus Kuyate, the man arrested in the first incident, decided to take legal action against the city. He refused a plea deal and filed a lawsuit, seeking justice for the false charges and the time he spent in jail. The case garnered significant attention, shining a spotlight on the misconduct of Erikson and the need for accountability within law enforcement. After months of legal battles, Kuyate's charges were ultimately dropped, and he was awarded a staggering $326,000 settlement. This landmark decision sent a powerful message that evidence planting and misconduct by police officers would not be tolerated. The settlement not only provided some measure of justice for Kuyate, but also served as a wake-up call for the NYPD and the criminal justice system as a whole. Less than 2 weeks after Kuyate's arrest, Erikson and Pastran found themselves in another troubling situation. They stopped and searched another car, claiming to find not only marijuana, but also cocaine. However, the body camera footage from this incident painted a disturbing picture. Erikson repeatedly admitted that he did not see anything, telling Pastran, "I see nothing, you know what I mean?" Yet despite his own admissions, his body cam video appeared to show Erikson dropping a chunk of weed into the car's cup holder and declaring that he had found a little bit of weed. The blatant evidence planting was shocking and raised serious concerns about the officer's conduct. The fallout from these incidents was immense. Jason Serrano, the man arrested in the second incident, made a difficult decision to plead guilty to a resisting arrest charge in order to avoid facing the drug charge. Little did he know at the time that the explosive body camera footage and Erikson's disciplinary history would later come to light, potentially changing the course of his case. At the time of his plea, Serrano was unaware of the shocking body camera footage that prosecutors had failed to disclose. Months later, when the footage was finally turned over to his attorneys, Serrano realized the extent of the misconduct and the injustice he had unknowingly accepted. Erikson's disciplinary file, which showed previous instances of invoice discrepancies following drug seizures, further highlighted the troubling pattern of behavior. Despite the disclosure issues and the evidence against Erikson, Staten Island District Attorney Michael McMahon fought against Serrano's attempts to vacate his guilty plea. It was only when a judge reviewed the evidence, including Erikson's disciplinary history, that Serrano's conviction was ultimately overturned. This case exposed the flaws in the system and the urgent need for transparency and accountability. The shocking timeline of events leading up to Kyle Erikson's first arrest paints a disturbing picture of an officer who abused his power and violated the trust placed in him. The subsequent lawsuits, settlements, and ongoing federal investigation have shed light on the need for justice and reform within the criminal justice system. In January of 2018, 3 months before the first incident that brought Erikson's misconduct to public attention, the NYPD lightly disciplined him for an invoice discrepancy following a marijuana seizure. This incident incident, although seemingly minor at the time, should have served as a warning sign of potential issues with Erikson's integrity and adherence to protocol. Just a few months later, in April 2018, a few weeks after the arrest of Jason Serrano, Erikson faced another disciplinary action for an invoice discrepancy and a separate drug seizure. The fact that he was involved in two separate incidents involving invoice discrepancies within such a short time frame raises serious concerns about his professionalism and attention to detail. These disciplinary actions, although seemingly minor, should have prompted a closer examination of Erikson's conduct and raised questions about his credibility as a police officer. The fact that these incidents went largely unnoticed and were not disclosed to the victims and their attorneys is deeply troubling and highlights the lack of transparency within the NYPD. The implications of Erikson's disciplinary history on his actions are significant. It suggests a disregard for proper procedures and a willingness to cut corners, potentially at the expense of innocent individuals. The invoice discrepancies raise questions about the integrity of the drug seizures and the accuracy of the evidence presented in court. When coupled with the evidence-planting allegations and the body camera footage that contradicted his sworn testimony, it becomes clear that Erikson's misconduct was not an isolated incident. It was part of a larger pattern of behavior that called into question his credibility as a police officer and the validity of the cases he was involved in. The shocking revelations surrounding Kyle Erikson's misconduct and evidence-planting allegations sent shockwaves through the criminal justice system. In the end, Kyle Erikson resigned from the force. Stephanie Lazarus.
Stephanie Lazarus now faces murder charges. Prosecutors say that almost 25 years ago, she beat and shot the wife of an ex-boyfriend, and that DNA evidence proves it.
In the quiet neighborhood of Van Nuys, California, a heinous crime took place that would send shockwaves through the community and the entire nation. On February 24, 1986, Sherry Rasmussen, a vibrant young woman, was found brutally beaten and shot 3 times in her own apartment. The initial investigation pointed towards a botched burglary, but little did they know that the truth behind this gruesome crime would remain hidden for over 2 decades. Sherry's father, fueled by his own suspicions, believed that there was more to this case than met the eye. He couldn't shake the feeling that Stephanie Lazarus, an LAPD officer who had a previous relationship with Sherry's husband, John Ruetten, was somehow involved. The love triangle between Sherry, John, and Stephanie added a layer of complexity to the investigation, and it would prove to be a crucial piece of the puzzle. Despite Sherry's concerns and her confiding in her father about Lazarus's harassment, she and John decided to tie the knot in November 1985. Little did they know that their happiness would be short-lived and their lives would be forever changed. The initial investigation focused on the theory of a burglary gone wrong. Detectives combed through the crime scene, searching for any evidence that could lead them to the perpetrator. However, as they delved deeper into the case, they began to realize that the crime scene didn't align with the burglary theory. Something didn't add up. Years turned into decades, and the case went cold. But in 2009, a new team of detectives decided to take a fresh look at the evidence. It was during this re-examination that they stumbled upon a shocking revelation, and Stephanie Lazarus, the very officer who had once sworn to protect and serve, emerged as the prime suspect. The breakthrough came in the form of DNA evidence. Detectives discovered that Lazarus had thrown away a cup, and upon testing it, they found a match to a bite mark on Sherry's body. It was a chilling connection that couldn't be ignored. The evidence was stacking up against Lazarus, and the truth was finally coming to light. The arrest of Stephanie Lazarus sent shockwaves through the LAPD and the entire community. Colleagues who had once known her as a vivacious and supportive officer were left stunned, unable to comprehend the darkness that lay beneath her facade. Lazarus's anger issues had earned her the nickname Lazarus, but no one could have imagined that she was capable of such a heinous crime.
I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that somebody would be saying that I did this. I mean, we had a fight, and so I went and killed her. I mean, come on.
The murder charge forced Lazarus to retire early from the LAPD, and she found herself behind bars, held in the confines of the Los Angeles County Jail. Her bail, set at an astonishing $10 million in cash, raised eyebrows and sparked controversy. Lazarus's lawyer argued that the judge didn't fully understand the complexities of the case, comparing her bail amount to those set for other murder suspects. Meanwhile, Lazarus's brother claimed that she wasn't receiving adequate treatment for her cancer while in custody. As the pretrial phase began, Lazarus's defense team filed several motions in an attempt to challenge the case against her. They argued that the initial investigators should have identified Lazarus as a suspect earlier, and that the delay in bringing charges had compromised the quality of the evidence. The defense also sought to suppress evidence obtained through search warrants, claiming that the information used to obtain them was outdated. However, the judge ruled in favor favor of the prosecution, allowing the case to proceed. The trial itself became a media sensation, with elements resembling plots from popular crime shows. Prosecutors painted a picture of Lazarus driven by jealousy and obsession, alleging that she murdered Sherry Rasmussen out of anger and resentment towards her relationship with Lazarus's ex-boyfriend. Sherry's husband, John Ruetten, took the stand, testifying emotionally about the devastating impact of the crime on his life. He wept as he admitted that he kept on sleeping with Stephanie while he was engaged to marry Sherry and that he regretted his actions. The defense, on the other hand, focused on the original burglary theory, attempting to undermine the forensic evidence presented by the prosecution. They attacked the DNA evidence, including the match from the bite mark, and sought to cast doubt on its reliability. After several days of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Stephanie Lazarus was found guilty of first-degree murder. The sentence? 27 years to life in prison. It was a moment of justice for Sherry Rasmussen and her family, but the story didn't end there. Lazarus's conviction would be appealed, and allegations of police misconduct would cast a shadow over the case. Lazarus's supporters were left in disbelief. The media frenzy surrounding the trial didn't end with the verdict. The case raised questions about the initial investigation and allegations of police misconduct. It was revealed that evidence that could have implicated Lazarus earlier may have been removed from the police files, leading to accusations of a cover-up. The Rasmussen family filed a civil lawsuit against the city, the LAPD, Lazarus, and others, seeking justice for their daughter's murder. However, the lawsuit was dismissed on a statute of limitations grounds, leaving the family with unanswered questions and a sense of injustice. Criminalist Jennifer Francis, who found the crucial evidence from the bite mark, also filed a lawsuit. She claimed retaliation and harassment after raising concerns about the investigation. Her lawsuit ended with a judgment in favor of the city, further adding to the controversy surrounding the case. Despite the appeals and allegations, Stephanie Lazarus's conviction was upheld by the California Court of Appeal. The panel of judges determined that Lazarus's Fifth Amendment rights were not violated during her interrogation by detectives. They also found that the DNA evidence obtained using the mini-filer technology was admissible and that the defense had not provided sufficient evidence to challenge its reliability. The court's decision effectively closed the door on Lazarus's hopes for a successful appeal. The case of Stephanie Lazarus served as a stark reminder of the importance of transparency and accountability within law enforcement. Grant Harden. James Lee Appleton, born on November 14, 1957 in Merriam, Kansas, was a man known for his kind heart, bright spirit, and caring nature. After completing his education at Southwest High School in 1975, James embarked on a successful career that spanned several decades. For over 27 years, he dedicated his time and skills to Emerson Electric, where he served as a supervisor. His commitment and dedication to his work were evident, and he was highly respected by his colleagues. In the early 2010s, James sought a change and an opportunity to serve his community in a different capacity. He secured a position in the Gateway Rural Water Authority, a role that allowed him to contribute to the development and well-being of the Arkansas city he called home. But tragedy struck on that fateful day, February 23, 2017, when James's life was cut short in a senseless act of violence. He was sitting in his truck, engaged in a conversation with his brother-in-law over the phone, unaware of the impending danger. Suddenly, a car pulled up beside him, and without warning, a single gunshot shattered the tranquility of the moment. The assailant, later identified as Grant Harden, swiftly fled the scene, leaving James mortally wounded. The news of James Appleton's murder sent shockwaves through the community. Friends, family, and colleagues were left devastated by the loss of such a kind and compassionate soul. The senseless act of violence left everyone searching for answers, struggling to comprehend how someone could commit such a heinous crime against a man who had dedicated his life to serving others. As the investigation into James's murder unfolded, the community rallied together, determined to seek justice for their beloved friend. Eyewitnesses came forward, providing crucial information that led the authorities to Grant Harden, a man whose position in law enforcement made his involvement all the more shocking. Grant Harden's arrest sent shockwaves through the community, as many found it difficult to reconcile the image of a corrupt cop with the man they had known. Grant had once served as a constable in Benton County and held positions as a police officer in Fayetteville, Huntsville, and Eureka Springs. He had even risen to the rank of police chief in the town of Gateway. His fall from grace was both unexpected and deeply unsettling. His arrest marked the beginning of a long and arduous journey towards justice for James Appleton and his grieving loved ones. Eyewitnesses played a crucial role in identifying Grant as the assailant. Their testimonies provided valuable information that led the authorities authorities to focus their attention on him. However, it was not just the eyewitness accounts that implicated Grant. His own wife's admission added weight to the case against him. She revealed that she believed Grant was working in the yard at the time of the crime, providing no solid alibi for his whereabouts. The investigation into Grant Harden's background revealed a disturbing pattern. It came to light that he had a dark past, marred by another heinous crime.
Grant Harden is expected in Benton County Court in connection with a rape case from 1997. Police say they got a break when Harden submitted his DNA to the state after he was sent to prison for an unrelated crime.
In November 1997, when Grant was 28 years old and still serving as a police officer, he sexually assaulted an elementary school teacher. The victim's initial complaint described a horrifying ordeal. Grant had held a gun as he forced himself upon her in the school's teacher's lounge. He took meticulous precautions, wearing a stocking cap, sunglasses, and no shoes, to avoid leaving any trace evidence. He even went as far as covering her face during the assault, displaying a chilling level of control. The details of the 1997 assault raised suspicions among authorities. Grant's careful actions during the crime suggested that he had knowledge of police procedures and how to avoid detection. Despite his efforts, DNA evidence linked Grant to the assault, leaving no doubt about his guilt. The discovery of Grant's involvement in the 1997 rape case added another layer of shock and horror to the already devastating murder of James Appleton. It became clear that Grant had been leading a double life, using his position in law enforcement to commit heinous acts of violence against innocent victims. During the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling case, highlighting the overwhelming evidence against Grant. Eyewitness testimonies, his wife's admission, and the DNA evidence linking him to the 1997 rape case all painted a damning picture of a man who had abused his position of power and violated the trust placed in him. Despite the weight of evidence against him, Grant chose not to reveal his motive for the murder of James Appleton. His silence left many unanswered questions, leaving the community to grapple with the senselessness of the crime. Some speculate that Grant and James may have crossed paths due to their respective roles in the community, leading to the seemingly senseless crime. When given the opportunity to address James Appleton's family and offer some solace, Grant's response was a mere acknowledgement of his guilt, stating, "I don't know how to say it, but I do want to say I'm sorry." His lack of remorse and refusal to provide any explanation for his actions only deepened the pain and frustration felt by the victim's loved ones. In the end, Grant Harden pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, accepting responsibility for his heinous crime. The judge, taking into account his confession, handed down a comparatively mild 30-year sentence in prison. However, this was not the end of Grant's legal troubles. The revelation of Grant's involvement in the 1997 rape case led to additional charges. In February 2019, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of rape, including the assault on the elementary school teacher. The sentencing for these charges added an additional 50 years to his penalty, bringing the total to 30 years for murder and 50 years for the rape charges. Grant's sentencing sent shockwaves through the community, leaving a lasting impact on the perception of law enforcement and the justice system. Many questioned how someone entrusted with upholding the law could commit such heinous acts. The arrest and subsequent guilty plea of Grant Harden brought a sense of relief to the community, knowing that justice was being served. However, it also served as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a badge. James Matt French. Captain James French had been employed for 32 years at the Oklahoma City Police Department until March 2023, when his life took a seemingly different turn. It was early hours of the morning when a traffic officer, Sergeant Chris Skinner, noticed the captain swerving and speeding in his unmarked city-owned SUV. Officer Skinner pulled the captain over just as he parked outside his apartment. As the officer approached the vehicle, he immediately noticed the telltale signs of intoxication. The pungent smell of alcohol permeated the air, and Captain French's speech was slurred. Concerned for the safety of the public, the officer knew he had to act swiftly and responsibly. He knew that his duty was to protect and serve, regardless of the offender's position within the police department. With his body camera recording every interaction, Officer Skinner noticed the captain was drunk and proceeded to conduct a field sobriety test. The body cam footage captured the tense encounter between the officer and Captain French. As Captain French stumbled through the field sobriety test, his once confident facade began to crumble. It was clear that he was under the influence, and the officer was determined to hold him accountable. Captain French pleaded severally for the officer to turn off his body camera, but the officer refused to do that. Reminding French about the police body cam policy, Officer Skinner knew that justice had to be served, regardless of the consequences. He radioed for backup and proceeded to handcuff Captain French, ensuring that he would face the same consequences as any other citizen. The arrest of Captain James Matt French sent shockwaves throughout the Oklahoma City Police Department and the community at large. It was a stark reminder that corruption can infiltrate even the highest ranks of law enforcement. As news of his arrest spread, questions arose about the extent of his corruption and the impact it may have had on the lives of those he was sworn to protect. Captain French was immediately placed on paid administrative leave pending further investigation. The department vowed to conduct a thorough inquiry into his actions, determined to uncover the truth and restore the public's trust. A close examination of the body cam footage showed that Captain French's actions were not those of an innocent man. From the moment the officer approached his vehicle, Captain French attempted to assert his authority and evade the consequences of his actions. The footage shows Captain French repeatedly demanding that Officer Skinner turns off his body camera, hoping to erase any incriminating evidence.
I'm not turning my camera off.
Okay.
This blatant disregard for transparency and accountability is deeply troubling, especially coming from a high-ranking member of the police force. The dutiful officer, however, stood his ground. He knew that it was his duty to uphold the law and ensure that justice was served, regardless of the offender's position within the police department. His refusal to comply with Captain French's request is a testament to his unwavering commitment to the truth. As the encounter progresses, Captain French's intoxication becomes more apparent. His slurred speech and unsteady movements leave no room for doubt. It is a stark reminder that even those tasked with enforcing the law are not immune to its consequences. The body cam footage also captures the desperation in Captain French's voice as he pleads with the officer to let him off the hook. His attempts to use his position and reputation as a shield against accountability are both shocking and disheartening. This footage serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of body cameras in law enforcement. They provide an unbiased record of events, holding both officers and civilians accountable for their actions. Without the body cam footage, the truth of Captain French's corruption may have remained hidden, perpetuating a cycle of abuse of power. The implications of this footage extend far beyond the arrest of Captain French. It raises questions about the integrity of the entire police department and the need for systemic change. The arrest of Captain French serves as a wake-up call, a call to action. It is a reminder that no one is above the law, regardless of their position or reputation. The community deserves transparency, accountability, and a police force they can trust. It is important to note that Officer Skinner could have complied with Captain French and let him off the hook so that he could get a bump up the ranks in return, but the officer chose to remain true to the oath he swore. Thanks to Officer Skinner, Captain French now faces charges of driving under the influence and abuse of power. While he has been placed on a paid administrative leave, the department has said that the case is still being investigated. Chief Wade Gurley of the Oklahoma City Police Department has praised Officer Skinner for being professional and refusing to turn off his body cam, even when Captain French begged repeatedly. Chief Gurley openly stated that the officer did exactly as he should have and was not influenced by French's pleas. Jaylen Fleer.
A former San Diego sheriff's deputy is heading to prison for more than a decade after being sentenced this afternoon for sexually abusing underage girls.
Jaylen Fleer's journey into the world of law enforcement was preceded by a passion for baseball that burned brightly in his early years. Born and raised in San Diego, California, Jaylen's love for the sport began to take shape during his time at Santana High School. As a student athlete, Jaylen excelled both in the classroom and on the baseball field. He was known for his dedication, discipline, and natural talent as a pitcher. His hard work paid off, and he quickly became an integral member of the Santana High School baseball team. During his time at Santana High, Jaylen's skills as a pitcher caught the attention of coaches and scouts alike. His ability to throw fastballs with precision and control made him a formidable opponent on the mound. Jaylen's talent and determination propelled him to new heights, and he played a crucial role in the team's success. The San Diego Storm, a renowned baseball team in the area, took notice of Jaylen's exceptional abilities. They recognized his potential and invited him to join their ranks. It was a dream come true for Jaylen, who saw this as an opportunity to further showcase his skills and make a name for himself in the world of baseball. As a member of the San Diego Storm, Jaylen continued to impress both his teammates and opponents. His pitches were powerful and accurate, leaving batters struggling to make contact. Jaylen's contributions to the team's victories were undeniable, and his reputation as a skilled pitcher began to spread throughout the baseball community. Jaylen's success on the field did not overshadow his commitment to his education. He understood the importance of balancing his academic pursuits with his passion for baseball. Jaylen's dedication to his studies earned him recognition as an exemplary student athlete, admired by his peers and teachers alike. Upon graduating from Santana High School, Jaylen's achievements in baseball opened doors for him to pursue higher education while continuing to play the sport he loved. He decided to enroll at Grossmont College, a renowned institution known for its strong baseball program. Jaylen's unwavering commitment to the sport was evident in his performance on the field, where he consistently delivered impressive pitches and contributed to the team's victories. As Jaylen's reputation grew, so did the attention from professional scouts. They recognized his potential to excel at the next level and began closely monitoring his progress. Jaylen's dream of playing baseball at the professional level was within reach, and he was determined to make it a reality. However, as Jaylen's story unfolded, unforeseen circumstances would soon alter the course of his life. The details surrounding his transition from a promising baseball player to a former sheriff with a criminal record are still largely unknown. Jaylen Fleer's life took an unexpected and tragic turn as he transitioned from a promising baseball player to a former sheriff's deputy with a criminal record. The details surrounding this transformation are still largely unknown, but the events that led to his arrest and subsequent legal troubles have sent shockwaves through the community. In a significant update, Jaylen Fleer, 27 years old at the time, found himself facing a multitude of charges that would forever tarnish his reputation. The charges, encompassing both felony and misdemeanor offenses, revolved around his engagement in sexual acts with underage girls and his attempts to arrange meetings with minors for sexual purposes. The alleged crimes occurred within a short period between March 27th and April 8th, 2020. The court proceedings shed light on the disturbing details of Jaylen's actions, painting a chilling picture of his predatory behavior. Deputy District Attorney Jaylen Wang, who presented the case against Jaylen, revealed the shocking nature of his crimes. According to Wang, Jaylen specifically targeted multiple girls, enticing them with money and expressing a preference for younger victims. His position as a law enforcement officer made him a figure of authority and trust, making it even more difficult for his victims to come forward. The fear of repercussions and the power dynamic at play prevented them from reporting the crimes to the police. The criminal complaint identified 4 victims, referred to as Jane Does 1 through 4, who suffered at the hands of Jaylen's predatory behavior. The explicit charges detailed in the complaint sent shockwaves through the courtroom and the community at large. Count 6 of the charges specified that Jaylen engaged in unlawful oral copulation with Jane Doe number 1, an individual under the age of 16, around April 8th. This particular charge highlighted the gravity of Jaylen's actions and the vulnerability of his victims. As the court proceedings unfolded, the community grappled with the shocking revelations surrounding Jaylen's crimes. The courtroom was filled with a mix of anger, disbelief, and sadness as the victims bravely shared their experiences and the impact Jaylen's actions had on their lives. The evidence presented against Jaylen was overwhelming, leaving little room for doubt. His guilty plea to a total of 20 charges further solidified the severity of his crimes. The court recognized the gravity of the situation and handed down a severe sentence of 12 years in state prison. The judge's decision sent a powerful message that no one, regardless of their position or authority, is above the law. As Jaylen begins his journey behind bars, the community is left grappling with the shock and devastation caused by his actions. The victims, scarred by their experiences, must now find a way to heal and rebuild their lives. The court's decision to hand down a severe sentence of 12 years in state prison sent a powerful message that such actions will not be tolerated. It served as a reminder that no one is above the law, regardless of their position or authority. In the wake of the heinous crimes committed by these members of law enforcement, the world is left to grapple with the fact that cops who have been given the power to enforce the law sometimes fall out of line. Check out this next video to learn more about times when law enforcement agents end up on the wrong side of the law.